Our next question, Jim, sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Dave in Hannibal, Missouri.
Hannibal?
Is that a real place? Hannibal, Missouri?
Hannibal? Is that what is the matter with you?
I only know the slow Hannibal. I don't know the location Hannibal.
I'm not talking about Canadian goofy Hannibal. I'm talking about the hometown of one of the greatest American authors in the history of literature.
Is he on Wikipedia?
Mark Twain.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, here's the question from Hannibal, Missouri. Here's a question for an exercise in mental masturbation. Was J.J. Dillon the blame for the downward spiral of modern wrestling?
What?
When J.J. quit the WWF and went to WCW, as we've been led to believe, Bruce was moved into talent relations. This move created an opening in creative with you and Vince, which allowed Shitstain to slide into the writer's seat. The rest is history, as they say. If JJ didn't leave, Bruce would have stayed in creative, and perhaps Russo doesn't get that kind of access to Vince, and who knows what happens. If JJ had been able to ride out the short-term financial pain, he may be a millionaire today. The head of talent relations when the company went public would have gotten a ton of stock. So can we say now that J.J. Dillon killed wrestling as we know it?
No, we can't, because you overlook the fact that there was overlap. Bruce, when he was made vice president of talent relations, was still on the creative team. And that's why we still had to go to Vince's every Wednesday. I just couldn't go to Bruce's house and play with his dog, and we couldn't jack off instead of working anymore. We had to go to the office because now Bruce had an office job too. But he was still on the creative team, and when Shitstain was brought in for a good period of time, it was the three of us. And then Bruce was relegated, I guess, to just having to go to the office, somehow he always got the good end of everything. Because then he didn't have to come and sit with me and the two Vinces anymore. He could be at the office where he could close his door and or tell people what to do. And I had to be the one over there between those two. But no, and if JJ had the short-term financial pain, he quit in 1996, and the administrative staff didn't start making big money for another few years, and I don't think he wanted to be in Connecticut that long. So, because as we mentioned, the JJ took the job up there and bought a house in Connecticut on the say-so of Vince, say, well, you ought to buy a house, you're going to be here. And of course, he was married at the time and had a special needs kid. And then when in 95 or whatever it was, when Vince announced, well, we're doing the shits in terms of business, so he cut all of the wrestling staff's pay like majorly. And there JJ was there stuck with a house in fucking Connecticut. Nobody wants to live in Connecticut unless you have to work there. And he got his money cut. So he decided then, as whenever he could sell that fucking house, that he was quitting and going to Atlanta. And it took him, I don't know, it was 6 months or a year or whatever. The day he sold the house is when he walked in and said, I'm done. I'm going to Atlanta. And it just so happened to be, it was the day of, it was Shane's wedding. It wasn't Stephanie's wedding. It was Shane's wedding. And so Bruce calls me. You'll never believe what JJ did. Well, what? He quit. What? Because this was a surprise, right? But I said, why? I don't know. He walked in and told Vince, you'll never hurt me or my family again, and turned around and walked out. Bruce didn't ever bother to tell me, and I didn't know until I talked to JJ quite some time after the fact that JJ was pissed because they'd cut the money. They'd cut the salaries. When I got my salary offer to go up there and join the creative team, I thought, well, I always heard that they made big money up here, but hey, beggars can't be choosers right now. I didn't know, and nobody told me it's because the year before he'd cut all the wrestling people's fucking pay. But he didn't cut the business side's pay. which is why Lord Al Hayes quit on the spot. That's when he left. JJ had the house and had to wait a while. So Bruce never told me about this salary cutting business when he had JJ have what he thought was the balls. And the reason why that he said, "You'll never hurt me or my family again," is because they'd had to stay there, barely breaking even in that overpriced hellhole, which was different than what he had been promised when he bought the house and got saddled with it to begin with. And Bruce tried to paint it that that JJ owed the company money, and that's why he had left, when in actuality, Vince had to advance JJ money, and JJ's book tells this better than I am, but Vince had to advance JJ money to buy the overpriced house in Connecticut, and then was taking it out of his check, and then ended up taking it out of a check that was about 40% less than what it fucking was originally when they made the deal on the house. So he was all fucked up, need to get out of there, right? But Bruce didn't fill me in on any of this. So for a while, JJ was the heel. Well, he left and took off owing the company money. And then when we found out the rest of the story, it made a lot more sense.
All right. So J.J. Dillon did not kill wrestling. Did Bill Watts kill wrestling?
No, Jake Gyllenhaal killed wrestling.
Did Bill Watts kill it, putting Vince Russo on a creative team?
No, because again, Bill Watts didn't put Vince Russo
let
on
him come to the creative meetings.
No, because as soon as Watts was gone, see, the thing is, when Watts worked there, that was before I got on the creative team, so I was not in any of the meetings. So I have the story that's been told that Vince Russo came to creative meetings during the Bill Watts administration. But all I know is that I started on the creative team in February of 1996, and for the first 13 months, the only time we had to suffer Shitstain's presence was when we had a meeting to do something that had something to do with the magazine or the magazine department, because that's where he was in. So I don't know what kind of meetings he was coming to before I got there, but he wasn't coming to any meetings the first year or so I was around, except if it had something to do with the magazine or the, publicity writing for Sane.
Do you think J.J. Dillon and Alfred Hayes and the various people who had problems with the cut in salary would have been as upset if Vince said, "I'm cutting your salary, but I'm also going to supply you with Omaha steaks"?
I don't think they would have been upset, because everybody gets a smile on their face when they get a box of Omaha steaks. And folks, it's the holidays. I believe we've mentioned that many times over the program so far, but no better time than the holidays to get a box of Omaha steaks, especially when they have the perfect gift package available. Everybody knows some people you just can't buy for. What do you get a guy with everything? A big shot of penicillin. Otherwise than that, it's hard to buy for him. Well, there's one thing in the world, Brian Lass, that everybody does at one time or another, and that's eat. And you can eat hearty and eat fancy with our friends at Omaha Steaks. If you go to omahasteaks.com and enter JCE into the search bar when you order the perfect gift package, listen to this. For $99.99, you get 24 entrees like the world-famous bacon-wrapped filet mignons, the chicken breasts, the sides, the desserts, so much more. They've got all kinds of stuff on the omahasteaks.com website and in the perfect gift package. And when you use the code JCE, you're going to get an additional 8 free Omaha Steaks burgers. Everybody's talking about shipping delays, whether it be the post office or UPS or FedEx or whatever. So don't wait. You don't want, once they leave the hands of our friends at Omaha Steaks, you don't want any transgressions in shipping. But Omaha Steaks sends it fresh, frozen, vacuum-packed, sealed in its own styrofoam cooler. And holy mackerel, once again, $99.99 for 24 entrees. And when you use the code JCE, you get an additional 8 Omaha Steaks burgers free. So, achieve gifting greatness with Omaha Steaks. Whether you like it rare, medium, well done, or just say knock the horns off and bring it out on a leash. With Omaha Steaks, you get incredible flavor, incredible value, and a 100% guarantee. OmahaSteaks.com, keyword JCE. I want me some meat.
Well, Jim, every time we talk about Omaha Steaks, I get hungry. So let's get a few more questions and then go eat.
All righty. Yeah. Oh, wait.
Well, what's
I
going
just
on?
looked out the window. Hank from next door is taking a shit on my driveway.
What?
Hank from next door is taking a shit on the driveway.
Is Hank a dog?
Yes. Well, what you think? The goddamn human being?
Who the fuck names their dog Hank?
The dog. The guy that lives next door, he doesn't shit in my driveway.
You never know with your behavior.
He shits out behind my propane tank. The dog from next door often shits in the driveway. Hank. That's a common name. You know, I put spot remover on my dog once. He disappeared.
All right, let's get another question here. Shecky.